or could be, especially if you only listen to their wise advice? Do you want to stop the voices of expectations from others so that you can listen more carefully to your own inner voice? Many of us have employers, in-laws, family members, or peers whose voices often overwhelm us. What if you could just simply push a button and make all their expectations go away so you could simply be yourself? I don't know about you, but when I stop listening to these voices and refuse to be conformed by the world, to use Paul's language, life doesn't necessarily get a lot easier. What I find instead is that all those competing voices were never out there like I thought. They're in here, inside of me.
Amen.
And what most often keeps me from being me is, well, me. There's a Baylor University neuroscientist, David Eagleton, observes that our brains are wired to be what he calls a team of rivals. And says Eagleton, intuitively, it feels like there's a you. So when somebody meets someone they know, they feel like, oh yeah, that's one person. But in fact, it turns out that we have under the hood are lots of neural populations, lots of neural networks that are all battling it out to control your behavior. Eagleton continues, it's exactly a parliament in a sense that these different political parties might disagree with one another. They're like a team of rivals, and that they all feel they know the best way to steer the nation, and yet they have different ways of going about it, just like different political parties do. This internal team of rivals means that it's getting harder to hear what our hearts are saying because of all that noise. There are all kinds of voices waiting for us, each with its own expectations and advice. No, if we were to follow the direction of our truest self, we can't just listen to our hearts. We'll need to go much deeper, listening to the heart within our heart. That quotation from Paul, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, ends with, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So apparently, when we turn down the volume of that external voices in order to hear more clearly the internal ones, we often will hear God's voice in the mix. Now lately, I have been eating healthy, eliminating sweets, which is something I truly love, and carbs, which I truly love too. You know, all those good things that we want to eat and love to eat, but yet just looking at those things or thinking about them, I always gain at least 1 pound. I find it easier when I'm not at home to resist the temptation to eat something that is not in my best interest, like dessert if I go out for a meal with others, or after worship on Sunday when I go to the back and there's a wonderful spread of delectable goodies, usually sweets, and I steel myself against the temptation to indulge in sweets and breads and casseroles and sodas. So I do not conform myself to the world that keeps asking me, even expecting me to. Take just one small taste of the food I want, they say. Just one bite won't hurt you. Now I must confess, when I go to the grocery store or go home, all of a sudden, while I may have been successful for not being conformed to the world when out in public, but now with just myself and my heart to listen to, I found that there isn't just one Judy staring at those forbidden goodies. There are many. Going past the Girl Scout cookie stand, I see a wonderful selection of those Girl Scout cookies. I mean, they only come out once a year. So here are a few of the Judies I hear from. Judy number 1, the parent. You know better. Just buy some of the groceries and get out of here before you succumb to temptation. You know you can't just eat one cookie. You'll eat the whole box. Judy number 2, the free child. Yummy, yummy Girl Scout cookies, Thin Mints, I love them. Ooh, I just love them. Give me some now. Just one. Judy number 3, the peer group. Hey, you've been really doing good at losing some weight. People are even beginning to notice. Don't blow it now. Judy number 4, the pragmatist. You know, those cookies are at least 200 calories each. But if I eat just one, I will be extra diligent the rest of the week. Duty number 5, the pessimist. You know you're going to buy a box and eat the whole bag on that. Why make it hard on yourself, justifying your behavior? Just get it over with and buy 2 or 3 boxes. Duty number 6, the hero. Are you really going to let something as measly as a box of Girl Scout cookies tempt you off your diet? Yeah. You are much better than that. Believe in yourself. Just go in, get your groceries, and get back in the car. Duty number 7, the adversary. You are a worm, a despicable worm. Of course you're going to take home a couple boxes of cookies, and you're going to eat them all too. You're just too weak to control yourself. Besides, why would you want to repress your desire for something so tasty that only comes out once a year? Number 8, the Holy Spirit. You really are a strong woman, and things are going well in your life. Easter is almost here. There's an upcoming play. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you want to look your best. Number 9, the true self. Cookies? What cookies? Oh, that? Why would I want those? I just ate a Big Mac from McDonald's before going grocery. They say never shop on an empty stomach. Each one of those voices are authentically me. Each voice is one that I'm used to hearing in my head, constantly. They offer their opinion on any number of subjects, from purchasing groceries to purchasing things I need, from considering food choices to choosing a president. Chances are these voices are familiar to you also. In fact, they correspond to some of the great archetypical voices identified by psychologists and mystics alike. They could be called the parent, the free child, the peer group, the pragmatist, the pessimist, the hero, the adversary, the Holy Spirit or the comforter, and the true self. So did you notice that the Holy Spirit is on that list? The voice of the Spirit is there because it is really, genuinely a part of us, albeit a part that we have no real control over and whose desires and interests are often different than what we expect. In the 4th century, St. Augustine observed that the path to knowing God and the path to knowing yourself is the same path. He knew this because he had done his own soul searching and regularly discovered the voice of the divine within the many voices vying for his attention, which was as much of a surprise to him as anyone else. While grocery shopping and struggling with cookies, what I associate with the voice of Spirit came from completely out of the blue. While I was considering the cookies, I discovered that my thoughts had slowly drifted towards church. Thinking of church and thinking of Easter and all that is happening broke the spell on my fixation on those wonderful cookies. The thoughts filled me with a feeling of joy and peace that was greater than the cookies could have supplied. With the spell broken, my true self, that part of me that represents my will when it is completely free and not reacting to anything, decided that I really didn't need those cupcakes and I could do without them, at least this year. We'll see about next year. Of course, I can't know for sure that it was the Holy Spirit talking to me when my thoughts went to church at Easter. But what I do know is that the Holy Spirit speaks to us far more often in ways that seem perfectly mundane, subtle, or organic to our thinking than in moments we're thunderstruck. We always expect the Holy Spirit to zap us on the head, knock us on the floor, and come out with this loud, booming voice. And more often, it's very subtle, very quiet. The Holy Spirit doesn't speak from mountaintop experiences. More often, as she speaks from the parking lot or the chair in the den or at the store. There's a reason why the voice of the Spirit has been called the Comforter, even by Jesus. It's because even when the Spirit is calling us into a difficult or risky situations, she always gives us real knowledge that we're going to be all right, that what we will gain by following will be far greater than any sacrifice we are asked to make, and that we're being guided down a path that will bring us fully alive into this world, and a path that our truest self truly yearns for with our heart and our soul. The beautiful truth is that once we admit that the evil we see and experience in this world is the result of our failure to follow God's voice, rather than God's failure to speak to us, we start becoming the change that we seek in our world. We can make an inward turn away from the voices of fear and self-loathing and move towards the voice of the Spirit that whispers to the heart of our hearts. Without the fear and loathing drowning out the Spirit's voice, we hear more of the assurance that she offers. We develop a yearning to follow that voice. And when we do, we become more fully alive in this world. So our object is to get to our true self, the higher mind, the will, the soul. Put that person into the chairperson's seat and keep it there. You can't control the Holy Spirit or decide when or what the Holy Spirit will communicate. The soul within will listen and respond, with much comment from the other voices at times. But if you put your true self in charge and get to know and appreciate and respect the other voices and listen to them, but not let them control or bully you, that is what you can do. The rest is up to the Spirit. You cannot pray or know God above the level of your own self-awareness. To know yourself and to develop spiritually is the same path. You must spend some time alone in reflection on a regular basis if you want to make friends with yourself. And if you do that, you will also encounter the one who created you and who knows who you truly are and what you are here for. I have a handout for you of the different types, and I'm going to encourage you this week to maybe ask yourself a question and see what the voices are saying to you, and maybe see if you can relate to any of these. And I'm going to give you a minute as they distribute those. Many of us are afraid to spend time in quiet by ourselves. I think because we're afraid of what we might hear or afraid of what we might not hear. And so we bombard ourselves with earphones and TVs and radios and all kinds of stimuli going on around us. And they say that people that meditate every day are a lot calmer, more at peace, and a lot wiser than those that do not meditate for a time period. You can start with 5 minutes and move on up. They say at least an hour every day is good. I know that's a lot for some people. Just try, even if you do 10 minutes a day, it'll be great. While we do our song of response, last week we did the Wailing Wall. I talked about that, and if you were not here, the Wailing Wall is in Jerusalem, and people for centuries have been going and writing their prayers and putting them in between the cracks in the wall. If you have a prayer you would like to do today, you're welcome to come up as we sing our song of response, or you can do it after worship or any time when you're in here is fine. There's pins and little slips of paper. And know that nobody's going to look at them. It's strictly confidential. But we will be praying. I'll be coming in when I'm here and sitting here and just praying as the prayers are in the wall. So please feel free to come up as you feel free. Let us pray, please. We thank you, God, for the voices within that often tell us things that we need to hear. Help us this week to focus on the Spirit. Help us to focus on our own true self, to really get in touch with our heart of hearts. Let us not be afraid of the quiet, but let us embrace it. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.